What's up, everyone? So today we're gonna be watching Bora City's new video. The BTS 2025 contract didn't come out of nowhere. I did hear about this news that some of the members have renewed their contract and they're just waiting for the ones who are enlisting to come out so that they can sign, which means that, hey, BTS is staying, and they are staying with HYBE. I mean, I kind of expected that. Like, if some news broke out that they didn't renew their contract, that would have been super shocking, especially with how much the members have been saying this whole time that they want to be back together, that they are going to get back together, that they'll see us in 2025. So I was kind of expecting this, but it's glad to have confirmation now. But yeah, as always with Bora City Magazine's videos, I always just learn a lot of new things and can see things from a different perspective. So I'm excited, and without further ado, let's start watching.
All of the BTS members just signed their third contract to continue being part of BTS as a 7-member group under their label Big Hit Music, part of HYBE Corporation. If you don't know, BTS is still a group despite being in the military, and they are currently in their second contract. This third BTS contract,
yeah, I guess that's why they're like still releasing their solo music and stuff like Take Two and all that under HYBE,
starts in 2025. And I'm very happy, but I'm not surprised at all, because the signs were always there. When BTS announced that they were going,
I'm not sure exactly what signs they're going to talk about, and I can't really name any off the top of my head, but I also wasn't surprised and was like, you know, I expected them to get back together. I trusted them this whole time.
To start their mandatory military service and focus on solo music, it was so easy to assume that it was the end. And I understand this coming from people who don't know much about the industry and BTS's contracts. But when it comes from people who actually work on media, it was frustrating to see that there was so much misinformation and nonsense predictions being pushed around by them.
I mean, it feels like that's what, you know, people from who don't know BTS thought, like, oh, they're gonna do their solo projects. Nah, it's the end. It's over for them. They're all gonna go separate
are headed in
and in their own ways.
So I don't know if I think they're gonna come back.
BTS just revealed some major news, and it's not smooth like butter.
Like, maybe it's time to move on. The K-pop supergroup broke hearts around the world, announcing they're going to take some time to focus on solo projects. Their management says it's not a hiatus, so kind of sounds like it. I mean, I guess all good.
I mean, I don't want to put like too much blame on them, because like they probably know nothing about the group or, you know, anything that they've done or what they've said, but they started making assumptions and displaying them on the news.
Things must come to an end, right?
Billboard even had an article in 2022 titled "BTS Hiatus Didn't Come Out of Nowhere." These were the warning signs.
What?
Allegedly, one of the writers even took out his name from the writing credits.
Wait, what? That was this article? BTS hiatus didn't come out of nowhere. These were the warning signs.
Could it be because he realized that this...
I mean, I don't want to give this article a click, but I'm just curious to see what they said. Public expectations for success triggered an onstage breakdown and health concerns. Oh, the 2018 speech. Financial pressure for BTS to pull HYBE forward weighed on them. There were disagreements about the group's future direction. He admitted after Dynamite, I didn't know what kind of group we were anymore. They are facing mandatory military service. They are blatantly entering adulthood. Bro, what are these reasons? The output of group music was slowing. I mean, I feel like that was because of the pandemic, like, or, you know, it could be that they were kind of working on their solo stuff and planning things for the future for their military service, because they had to have talked about their military service since like a long time before and prepare. There were more chances to do solo music and outside collaborations. Well, that article was trash.
One of the writers even took out his name from the writing credits. Could it be because he realized that these predictions made no sense, or was he afraid that he wouldn't be able to interview BTS once they reunite? I don't know.
He just didn't want to get backlash.
Is that these kind of predictions are now 100% denied, not only by ARMY and BTS, but also by an official legal document. Let's see why the BTS 2025 contract renewal did an official legal
actual contract? There's pictures of it and what it said?
Let's see why the BTS 2025 contract renewal didn't come out of nowhere. These were the obvious signs the industry tried to dismiss.
The company behind Korean supergroup BTS is not just...
So the signs that all the media missed, who were saying, oh, you know, they're gonna go their separate ways, they're gonna go solo.
A record label or a manager.
I mean, I just knew because I watch like literally all their content, so I kind of always see what they say, you know, what they do.
Management company.
I want to talk about the importance of this contract, not just about the fact that they are signing with Hype. However, I know that there are people asking themselves, why are they signing with Big Hit and Hype for a third time when they obviously have quote-unquote better opportunities with major international labels?
Better opportunities? I mean, all right, we'll see what Bora City says right now, but I just think maybe changing up or doing something like starting their own label, probably just really complicated, a lot of work. And Big Hit, they've been working with them since forever, so the company already kind of knows, you know, what to do with them, what they want, how to produce the content. So maybe it's just
some people
better
even
to
say
stay.
that it would be better for them to create their own label, like other K-pop idols do. The answer by some armies would be that Big Hit is BTS's label, and Hype is BTS's company, because they built that company from the ground. When BTS started,
yeah, you know, that's true.
Hype
it's thanks to them that Hype
is BTS's
exists
company,
right now.
because they built that company
and to just build it up and be like, all right, we're leaving
from the ground. When BTS started, they were the only group sustaining that label, and it's thanks to BTS and BTS only that the label is where it is now. In
they probably feel some importance to the company.
return, the CEO gifted big stocks to BTS, so even if they leave one day, they will continue making money from other groups signed to the label. But if you don't buy this maybe sentimental and dreamy idea, let's talk about the other options BTS rejected. In my opinion, no matter which label the BTS members choose, they're not going to be able to manage them 100% correctly, because no label has had the experience of successfully managing a group this big.
Like Hype been working with them for a long time, and we're there for the growth, so we're there learning how to manage like the group as it got bigger and bigger.
BTS
so they already know.
UMG or Universal Music Records, which is the biggest and most powerful music label in the world. The label will continue with some actions that go against BTS's philosophy, like payola, overworking and over-controlling artists, and underpaying musicians. This can be good for their numbers.
Yeah, and at this point, BTS is so important for Hype that Hype probably, you know, doesn't try to like make them too upset, you know, like they probably do ask like, all right, you know, what do you want to do? What do you want? What do you think?
Over-controlling artists and underpaying musicians. This can be good for their numbers, but this kind of shady stuff can create allegations and other legal problems, and they will definitely not help BTS's longevity. Think about the Western artists who have multiple legal battles with their own labels, preventing them to release music or leave the label. Others even have to re-record their discographies because they don't own their music. So what about...
Besides, even if they switched labels, like, would they even be able to do all their shows, you know, in the soup? The Return of Bon Voyage, Run BTS, what about all of that?
Creating their own label like some K-pop idols do. When K-pop idols end their 7-year contract, it's common for them to create their own label and have the freedom they didn't have under their previous contract with a K-pop label. However, since these artists are promoting in South Korea, the best case scenario for them is finding promotion opportunities for themselves inside South Korea. But the kind of promotions that the biggest group in the world requires are more than a new, inexperienced label can provide. Even if they get the best CEOs in music to work with them, the BTS members would have to go through the struggle of finding and working with experts they don't know and they don't trust. So they chose Hype, the label which made them debut and which knows BTS's style of working and promotion demands. Beyond this, the BTS members are business majors, and it's been reported that they already have a strong voice in the agency. RM has even made presentations.
You know, they're important people there.
reported that they already have a strong voice in the agency. RM has even made presentations challenging the company's projects and has successfully stopped them. I believe this is why their contract negotiations always happen years earlier, and they come to a conclusion 2 years before the start of the new contract. This is not common in K-pop. Groups either announce that they are renewing their contracts a month or two before their previous contract is about to end, or they continue negotiating months after their contracts already ended. But by
yeah, that probably is hard for the company, right? Because they can't really make long-term plans because they're not sure if the group is gonna stay or not.
to end, or they continue negotiating months after their contracts already ended. But by looking for a conclusion 2 years before the next contract is about to start, the BTS members have time to consult their lawyers, talk between each other, and tell their demands to the label. Actually, they were not shy with their demands for the second contract, which is the one they're currently signed to. This is what BTS told HYBE during negotiations for the second contract.
Wait a minute, I don't know this.
We will give you 7 more years, but give us the acknowledgement that we deserve for the success that we have achieved.
Oh, give us the acknowledgement that we deserve for the success that we have achieved and reflect that in the contract. Wait, what? Hey, yo, the members know their worth. I mean, it's thanks to them that the company got this big. They just wanted their acknowledgement, their appreciation, their money.
And reflect that in the contract.
They deserve all of it.
This negotiation happened in 2018, when their highest peak was number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. When
wait. Damn, man, they just kept going up from there.
They had no Grammy nominations.
Imagine them now.
And when they spent only 2 years in the global music industry. But now, the BTS members have 8 number one songs, 5 Grammy nominations. They made billions of dollars not only for their small independent label, but also to their country. And they have solidified a legacy for over a decade. So if they had high demands then, imagine what they were able to agree with this third contract. Actually, this contract required board approval, which means that the terms are above the regular threshold. This is unusual, and it can suggest that this new deal will give the BTS members bigger cuts, shares, exclusive rights, or something extra that the board had to approve.
I mean, again, they deserve it, because if those demands were for the second contract, you know, back in 2018, yeah, their achievements afterwards just kept getting crazier and crazier. So hey, their acknowledgements gotta be going up as well.
Only the down payment is estimated to be over 3 times what it was with their second contract. This is not the total they are getting for the entirety of the contract. It's just a small initial payment. And of course, you would need to add all the...
Yo, the members are like filthy rich, huh? They must have an absolute massive bank account.
The contract. It's just a small initial payment. And of course, you would need to add all the money they will get when they actually come back in 2025. So yes, this contract is massive, probably the most important of their careers yet. The magnitude of this news.
And hey, the company can't just be like, no, because it's like, hey, you guys built the company basically, and were a big reason as to why they are where they are now, so
were confirmed by RM as the leader of BTS shared a snippet of the contract on Instagram, followed by BTS ARMY 2025. And a celebration of the contract renewal, Big Hit donated $750,000 to BTS's UNICEF campaign in the name of ARMY. So now that I talked a little
$700,000 donation
to BTS's UNICEF campaign
and them got a lot of money then.
So now that I talked a little about the basics of why they chose to sign with HYBE, I'll talk about what I actually wanted to talk about, which is the importance of this contract in itself. Because if you really think about it, there has not been any other contract like this in the history of music. Of
course, because there's not been another group like
Don't think about BTS re-signing with HYBE. Think about what the existence of BTS as a 7-member group for approximately at least another decade means to pop culture.
I'm real happy about that. And K-pop contracts?
First, we need to contextualize the first 2 contracts. BTS started as a hip-hop idol group in the K-pop industry, and in this industry, most contracts last 7 years. This is, of course, if the group is successful, because if it isn't, or if there's any conflict, the contract ends earlier. However, even in the best case scenarios, successful groups will disband in their 7th year. This is why the K-pop 7-year curse exists. This is what RM said in BTS's 8th anniversary in 2021.
7 years, it symbolizes like an invisible limit for many Korean teams, especially the K-pop groups. The 8 years.
Is it because they feel like it's hard for a group to stay relevant after 7 years? They're just like, you know what? Your popularity is just going to go down, so we're just going to end it here.
Your anniversary is kind of like a really, like a momentum, and it's like a meaningful.
That's probably why, you know, a lot of groups, like they said in the beginning, start their own label or something like that. Maybe because they just didn't renew their contract.
Day for a
they
group.
Couldn't.
So the groups that sign with their labels for a second time are rare, but they do exist. However, I think it's important to make a very important distinction between BTS and other K-pop groups. To start, many of the K-pop groups that decide to continue being a group beyond the end of their contracts tend to sign with different labels individually, but they come together as a group from time to time, or at least that's what they promise. Because a common trend lately is having a silent disbandment. Other groups that do stay together for years and years have so many members that it's inevitable for all of them to stay in the group. But I don't want to be unfair. Of course, there are some K-pop groups that stay together for many years. The longest running K-pop group has been together with all of its members for more than 20 years. And while I congratulate them and hope for a similar future for BTS in terms of number of years, the reality is that BTS situation is different and way more complicated, because there's no other group in the history of K-pop that has been able to truly pave their way in the global music industry. So as annoying as it can be to the BTS members, their decisions and future are of the industry's interest. Thousands of articles are made.
Everybody's watching like, oh, what's BTS gonna do? You know, this will be a first time, so everyone's interested.
Every decision they make, and their contract renewal, disbandment, or any tiny decision by them will become international news, reported and analyzed for days.
About their military service, a lot of people were asking, like, are they gonna get exempt since they've already done so much for the country? And when it turned out that they didn't, I'm sure there were some new rookie artists who were like, dang. So even if the group I'm in becomes the biggest one in history, still gotta leave for a year and a half.
Tiny decision by them will become international news, reported and analyzed for days, weeks, and even months. This doesn't happen to K-pop groups, because as legendary as they can be to the K-pop sphere, their disbandment or renewal will have almost no effect in the global music industry or their country's economy. BTS being signed as a 7-member group to a Korean label means more tourism, more South Korean recognition internationally, and even more jobs for South Korean citizens. My point is that
it did get a whole bunch of people around the world interested in South Korea.
BTS signing not a second contract but a third contract is extremely rare in the Korean music industry, because no other Korean group has grown to the lengths of BTS to even think about making a decision this big. Beyond that, groups that do become relevant in K-pop don't stay together for more than one contract. Sometimes because when they get what appears to be bigger solo opportunities, either from Korean labels or international labels,
they want to take
them. That's what I find extraordinary. BTS planned.
Well, I guess because in BTS's case,
international labels, they take them.
All these other labels, probably it's hard to offer, what they're already achieving at HYBE.
That's what I find extraordinary. BTS plans to stay together after their military service no matter what. HYBE's founder recently said that the BTS members wanted one of their first projects after coming back to be a special project related to their album trilogy, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life, whether it is with HYBE or with any other label.
And as you know, in 2015, BTS released its 화양연화, or The Most Beautiful Moment in Life album and the album series, and this was a very important album series for them. We said to each other, let's make sure we put out a 10-year anniversary album and a project. If they hadn't signed with us, they still would have released it, just not with us. They would have done it with somebody else.
This special project was already kind of announced by Suga and RM in 2022.
꼭 저희끼리 얘기했던 것 중에 어쨌든 2025년 대부분의 멤버들이 복귀할 해일 거고, 그다음에 이제 화양연화라는 저의 기념비적인 어떤 화양연화가 10주년이 돌아오니까 그때는 무언가를 할 수 있을 것 같지도 않을까 뭐 이런 생각을 했었잖아요. 그것들을 좀 잘 지키려고 노력하지 않을까.
So whether
the most beautiful moments in life.
것 같지도 않을까 뭐 이런 생각을 했었잖아요. 그것들을 좀 잘 지키려고 노력하지 않을까.
So whether the media wants to admit it or not, the biggest sign of this contract renewal came from the members themselves, because they are not going to promise things that are not going to happen.
Like I said, I've seen other content, so I see what the members say, and if you listen, yeah, it's pretty obvious that they're going to come back together.
They know that each of their sentences can and will become global news. This is why they always negotiate and come to a conclusion years in anticipation. This prevents all high tensions and speculations by fans and the media about their future. Again, this is an extraordinary measure that BTS takes because of their position in the global music industry. Most groups that do sign a second contract do it a couple of months before their first 7-year contract ends. Others keep negotiating renegotiating after their contracts already ended, leaving their fans and investors of the label basically in the dark about what will happen. Now you may
So with BTS, that's why we're kind of so sure when we watch, because they already know from years before.
say that it's responsible for groups to take their time in negotiating these contracts. And I totally agree. But it's important to know that BTS always does what's beyond considered responsible. And that's another obvious sign the media try to dismiss. BTS doesn't wait until the end of their current contract to consider signing again. Instead, each of the 7 members take decisions together by consulting their personal lawyers 2 years in advance. They carefully think about and plan their future together. And this is a unique measure only BTS takes because of their unique position.
And
so I don't want to hear any more comments
responsible.
diminishing the importance and uniqueness of this contract, because other K-pop groups lasted for decades too. When the news broke, some articles focused on how rare this type of longevity is in K-pop. It's rare.
Yeah, because even, when I first got into BTS and all that, I did hear about like the 7-year curse and all that.
Defining. It's a new standard set by them, and they are right. When it comes to K-pop contracts, the chances of disbanding are infinitely higher than the chances of making the group their priority. But BTS showed from day one that they are the exception.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Paving the way.
BTS.
A Western contract. I know nothing about those.
So that was in the context of K-pop contracts. But Western contracts are another world, and Western group contracts are even more complicated. The global artists that have long-lasting music careers tend to be soloists, because it's easier for one person to make what they consider the best decisions for themselves. But when a group is successful, they all have to take decisions together. And the chances of
then
being
there's probably like disagreements and stuff like
able
that.
to do that for years and years is very low. Of course, there are legendary groups that have been together for decades. Coldplay is the closest example to BTS, and by their friendship and the conversations they had during the days BTS started their talks about their future, I think that BTS is looking for this longevity. I don't think it's a coincidence that both groups got closer to each other during this difficult time. So it's definitely possible for BTS to take a similar path. But I still want to highlight that BTS's third contract is not only rare in the K-pop industry. BTS is not only the biggest group in the world, but they are also the only group at the moment able to compete with soloists. BTS as a group are part of the world's top 10 artists. However, the BTS as a group
I'm not
are
surprised.
part of the world.
Most streamed artist globally, number 5. Top artist of 2021, dang, number 3. Global Artist Chart 1. Yeah, they're huge.
Top 10 artists. However, the second biggest group in the world and other popular groups cannot even enter the top 30. This is why these contracts.
Wait, that's true, huh? If you think about like the biggest artists, the biggest songs currently and stuff like that, it's always soloist. So yeah, what BTS did is extraordinary.
And other popular groups cannot even enter the top 30. This is why this contract is even more impactful than you think. Historically, groups have not been able to succeed as much as soloists.
Probably hard to manage, right? A whole group of people.
Think about the groups that were able to actually compete with solo artists, from legendary bands like the Beatles to pop culture boy bands like NSYNC and One
pretty
Direction.
rare. It
They
happens
only
every
lasted
once in a
for
while.
10, 7, and 5 years respectively. So as the one massively successful group at the moment, is remarkable and extremely rare for BTS to enter their second decade, because this never happens when your group is at the top of the world.
I never thought about it, but yeah, it is very incredible what they have done.
So if this third contract is so rare, weren't the predictions of disbandment by the media not that unreasonable? Like I said, I understand if this comes from people who don't know much about the industry, but the ones who make these articles are supposed to be K-pop journalists. They should know that their military service was inevitable, but they also should know that at this point, they don't promise things just to calm fans. They've never done that, and these journalists...
Now that I think about it, they never really have lied or said things to keep the fans calm. Usually what they say, it's because they do or they mean it, speak from the heart.
Fact purposefully, in my opinion. For every journalist and fan who has followed BTS's career closely, this contract renewal should not be a surprise. Why? Because they've promised it would happen knowing that their country is looking at them. Because BTS always negotiates 2 years in advance. Because they've never lied about a project coming out. Because they've spoiled in 2022 their plans for a project in 2025. and you're still surprised that they renew? You still ignore all of this and choose to predict their breakup?
They just wrote an article for the clicks and because it was probably like all over the news, right? So they didn't even think about
delusional, because no other group does this stuff. So there actually exists uncertainty with them, but not with BTS. And you know this. You're supposed to be an expert on this. You study K-pop. You study boy bands. You study BTS.
Right, so K-pop journalist, like an actual thing? Journalists who like supposedly are experts in the K-pop field and all that, and they were still saying that BTS is gonna disband?
An expert on this. You study K-pop. You study boy bands. You study BTS's impact in the global music industry. So if you predicted the complete opposite of what just happened, maybe you should stop selecting only what you desperately wanted to see and start seeing the overall picture.
I think it just proves that they were only just doing it for the, for the clicks.
Since the BTS members started enlisting, K-pop's growth has significantly decreased compared to when BTS was a 7-member group. So every media person wanting K-pop to succeed should have been wishing that BTS comes back, not the opposite. Because as easy as it was for Billboard and Western award shows to create K-pop categories, as easy it will be for them to take them away. We've seen it happen, and it can happen again. So let's celebrate that BTS is the exception. Let's celebrate that BTS is entering their second decade in the history of music.
That is a long time, and I was always sad because I felt like I joined the fandom late, in 2020, but now I'm happy because I feel like there's still a lot more to go through. Because that was the one thing I would always think about, like, dang, I learned about BTS in the middle of 2020, in the middle of the pandemic. The music they started releasing and albums slowed down a lot. There was no tours. We were all indoors and BTS was doing all these online things only. And then they announced that they were gonna do their own solo projects, which of course has been really, really cool, but I still haven't gone through like a BTS world tour. I want to see what that's like, the comeback, all the clips of the concerts and stuff like that, all the promotions, the content. I've seen Run BTS episodes where they recorded them like in their hotel rooms while they're on tour, but because of their contract renewal, because the fact that we know that they're coming back, we can expect all of that in the coming years. And the 7-year curse, I did know about that contracts are usually around 7 years, and then usually after that the group just disbands. And of course there are some that renew their contract or continue working together, whether it's for the same label or another one. And I do agree that renewing their contract with HYBE again probably was the best decision. I mean, they can continue to be artists and do what they do, but they have a voice in the company. They have a say in what happens, which something that a lot of groups and artists don't have, sadly. BTS have stocks in the company. The company knows how the group works. Leaving that and trying to find something elsewhere probably would have just been real hard and could have ended up real badly. But I think the most important thing for the members is probably the fact that they have a voice, right? If they don't like something or maybe don't want to do something, they can say something about it. And if they go to another label and they take that away, they would be extremely upset and probably real sad and frustrated. And no one really knows what to expect from BTS's contracts, since they are a first time for a K-pop group, first time that a group achieves something like this, so no one knows what to expect. Whatever BTS do in the future, they're gonna have to decide, and the whole world is gonna be watching and taking notes. And like it said in the video, right, people who watch BTS and follow all their content, we weren't surprised by the news. Apparently some K-pop journalists were, people who study K-pop and know all about it, and still thought BTS were disbanding. And then of course other media who know nothing about K-pop, just heard of the news that BTS are going to be doing their solo projects and just immediately thought, oh, they're disbanding. All the big groups we've had in the past, One Direction, the Beatles, they ended up separating. So same thing probably will happen to BTS. That's what they all started thinking. But we don't even gotta say anything. Just let BTS do their thing and prove everyone wrong and keep achieving new things in their career. But anyways, that was the video. I hope you enjoyed and thanks for watching.